Hello everybody, how are you all doing? Welcome back to Man City Unplugged, your very own Man City fan channel. There's some interesting piece of news today, and like we were discussing yesterday, the transfer window is moving quickly, far more quicker than in the past weeks for City. We are starting to make those huge ripples, make those massive ripples in the transfer market based on what we need. There's an update on Josko Guardiola for all of you guys. Of course, I'm not providing the update. It's by Jan Agecroft, who's a very renowned journalist in Germany and is very reliable. But the interesting piece of news today is about City almost sanctioning the sale of Riyad Mahrez. We had got news yesterday that City have rejected a 23 million pound bid for Riyad Mahrez, but today another piece of news is coming through that City have accepted a 30 million pound bid for Riyad Mahrez. So I mean, City are close to accepting it. They have not officially accepted it, but it's almost close to getting done. So City have made contact with two people, Dani Olmo from RB Leipzig and also Raphinha from Barcelona. I mean, yesterday there was news about yesterday night, round about yesterday night in Indian time, there was news about City being interested in Dani Olmo, and today there have been articles published in reliable outlets like Goal.com that Tixiki Bagaristan has made contact with his Barcelona counterpart Deco for the transfer of Raphinha. So that is actually very interesting. I mean, again, the profiles of both the players are not similar. The profiles of both the players are different. The way they play, the style of play for both the players are actually entirely different. I mean, I was a bit surprised about the Josko Guardiola thing, and I mean, I was surprised about the replacement of Josko Guardiola, who is Abdullah Ndaya yesterday, because both are different kind of players, and in the worst case scenario, City wanted to go for Ndaya. So I didn't know if that made any logic, but it came from a very reliable source. I think Fabrizio Romano said that, so had to believe it. And even this thing, see, because you look at Dani Olmo and you look at Rafinha, for example. Rafinha is someone for me, for example, whatever I've seen him in the Premier League, for example, I've not seen him play for Barcelona much, but in the Premier League, Raphinha is someone who takes the ball, runs with it. He likes to take on players. His is fast. His assist skills are very good. In a way, I think if you're bringing in Raphinha for right wing, in a way, I think you're almost bringing in an upgrade on Raheem Sterling because okay, Rafinha might not have that blistering pace of Sterling, but he's close to it. Is not that far away from it, and he has the dribbling skills. He can, and he's a better finisher than Raheem Sterling. He can cut inside. His crosses, Rafinha's crosses are just excellent. So he can hold the width. See, but one problem for me with Rafinha is, and why I find it a bit surprising that goal is reporting they haven't made contact with Rafinha is that Rafinha for me loses the ball far too often for Pep's liking. I know Sterling also would lose the ball often when he tried to dribble and go past, and Rafinha also loses the ball more often, more than Sterling as well. And I remember when we played Leeds, I think in one of the matches, Rafinha. I think Rafinha lost the ball thrice or even four times trying to dribble past our fullback. So Rafinha is not the profile of player which I think Pep Guardiola would like to have on the wing, especially with this system, especially with Erling Haaland in there. Surprising. We do not know. We do not know what Pep is actually wanting to do this season unless we look at preseason matches. But it's surprising. And on the other side, if you look at Dani Olmo, for example, Dani Olmo is a very interesting prospect because Dani Olmo for me, if it's much more believable that we're in for Dani Olmo because Dani Olmo for me is the profile of player which Pep Guardiola is actually looking at. Dani Olmo is, I mean, if you look at the clips of Dani Olmo or whatever on internet, you will see that he plays in a similar style of way to Jack Grealish, to a Bernardo Silva, to even a Cole Palmer, almost to what a Riyad Mahrez does, very close. That is and he does not lose the ball as often as Riyad Mahrez as well. I mean, exactly. You could, if you could take out a photocopy of Jack Grealish and put it on the other wing, that is Danny Olmo for you. His technicality is balance on both the feet. He's predominantly right-footed, but the balance of Danny Olmo on both the feet, the way in which Danny Olmo goes past players in the sense that technically he goes past players, he finds space. It's exactly like what Jack Grealish does. He's unpressable. It's exactly like what Bernardo Silva does. So Danny Olmo for me is much more of a believable option in terms of we are going for than a Raphinha. And also Danny Olmo is 2 years younger than Raphinha. I think the potential of Danny Olmo is higher than a Raphinha. But again, it's not fair for me to sit here and compare both these kind of wingers because are almost completely different from Raphinha. Both are of a different profile, and I mean, if you wanted someone like a Rafinha, for me, this also bothers me actually because if you wanted someone like a Rafinha, why don't you go for Carlos Borges or an Embuda or even a Kingsley Coman, or even dare I say, just bring back Leroy Sané and shift Jack to the other wing or something like that. Why are we not looking at Rafinha, for example? Because Rafinha, Carlos Borges, all of these for me are almost a similar ilk of a wingers. The pace might be different. So Danny almost completely different. So I'm actually stunned. I know it came from goal.com, but I do not have that much of a faith in that story of us going for Rafinha unless Pep has some other plans of a bit of a change in style of play on the wing and stuff because Olmo fits our bill extremely well. And Danny Olmo is good at tracking back, at pressing. I mean, you look at whatever qualities you want in a Pep Guardiola winger. If you give Pep Guardiola a chance to manufacture a winger in a laboratory, he'll go for Danny Olmo. So, I mean, if you ask me here, I think Danny Olmo is the best choice over Rafinha. Technically, what Pep wants, I think it's Danny Olmo more than a Rafinha for me. Anyway, let's move on to the next piece of news. This is a very positive piece of news regarding Josko Guardiol, Jan Age Fortcroft. I guess I got his name right. He's a renowned German journalist. He works for ESPN, and he has come out and said yesterday that, I mean today, in fact, he's come out and said today that it's not. It's just a matter of time when we sign Josko Guardiol. It's not an if, but it's just when we sign Josko Guardiol. So I like we were talking yesterday that at least one signing will be completed before we head off on a preseason to Japan to Asia. I think I expect Josko Guardiola to be done. I mean yesterday, I mean tomorrow or even day after. I think before we head off on the preseason tour. I think we are heading off on the preseason tour tomorrow. I think that is not possible, but I think before the preseason match starts, at least I think Josko Guardiola will be done. It's just a matter of time, I think, when Josko Guardiola is done. What a signing that will be for us to reinforce our left side. It will be a statement signing. It will be an upgrade on whatever we have got in the team. No disrespect to Ake. For me, Nathan Ake is one of the best 1v1 defenders in the Premier League. The past season, the past 1 2 seasons, especially the past season. But Josko Guardiola is, I think, the difference between Ake and Josko Guardiola is Josko Guardiola gives you the flair in an attacking sense as well. He can ping those balls forward. I mean, Josko Guardiola for me is both an Aymeric Laporte and a Nathan Ake put together. Most of Nathan Ake put together in the sense that he can ping the balls like an Aymeric Laporte. He can go into the midfield as well, sometimes like Laporte does. And also he has the strength, the finesse, the power to deal with 1v1 situations like another Nake. So it's almost you're getting two defenders in one when you're signing Josko Guardiola. The only drawback of Josko Guardiola is not good in the air, where Nathanake is exceptional in the air, but that's a different story. We have many other people who are good in the air. City, like we have discussed yesterday, City are one of the best teams in Europe when it comes to defending set pieces and dealing with aerial duels. So that should not be much of a matter. And the next piece of news is Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer is in loan talks with Brighton. Brighton seem to be heavily interested in him. this for me is somewhat of a calming thing that Cole Palmer will go to Brighton and he'll develop under De Zerbi. De Zerbi, for example, could be a potential City manager. Hopefully, if I mean not hopefully, when Pep leaves, hopefully Pep stays longer. But if Pep leaves after 2 years after the completion of his contract, I think Cole Palmer could be sorry, De Zerbi could be a potential City manager, and developing under Deserby will just give Cole Palmer so much more of that confidence, and also Brighton's potential track record of developing youngsters and stuff. I think I'm happy for Cole Palmer and I want this loan move to be completed. Again, it depends on what City get in the transfer window. I think, okay, loan move is there, but you lose Mahrez and you lose Cole Palmer as well suddenly on the right hand side. It just looks a bit weak. I know you have Bernardo Silva, but Gundogan's not there, and you potentially could would want Bernardo Silva to, play in the midfield, for example. I think without lining up a replacement for Riyad Mahrez, we're not letting Cole Palmer leave. Or it could be potentially an Embuda or even a Carlos Borges being bought in, been fast, been fast tracked into the first team. We don't know, but I actually want this move to happen because I think Cole Palmer will benefit a lot by learning under Deserby, and also under at Brighton. Cole Palmer will be getting that chance to, play regularly, play day in and day out. Whereas at City, I think with the competition, with the expectation on City to go on and defend that treble, go on and defend the Premier League title and all of those things, I don't think Cole Palmer will get as many chances. Especially, we have seen that if Cole Palmer's confidence is a bit low, he does not like to take risks. He does not like to, express himself that freely. So I actually think I think it's good for all parties that Cole Palmer has the loan spell at Brighton. And also with James McAtee being so successful in his loan spell, with Callum Doyle being successful to an extent, with Tommy Doyle being successful to an extent in in their respective loan spells, I actually think that City have now opened out a bit more in terms of the fact that they are willing to let players go out on loan. They are like, this is they're like, okay, we can see the potential of what can happen if we allow players to be exposed to regular football at a high level. Because earlier on, looking at how Phil Foden transitioned into the first team, it was almost like, City had a fixed principle that talented players will only train under Pep in the first team training, and they will not be sent out on loan. But that stance is changing now, and I'm actually very happy for that. I'm very happy that the stance is changing now because, I think if James McAtee would have just stayed around the City's first team setup, I think he would have taken 2 more years at least to develop and break into the first team. The fact that he has gone on to Sheffield United, he has played with men, he is, 19-year-old player who has carried an entire club from the championship to the first team. It's not a joke. He has developed his leadership qualities. Even Callum Doyle, the same at Sheffield Wednesday, though I think they have just missed out on qualification. So I think it's interesting how the policy is evolving and the policy of City is changing. I think it will be a case by case basis as well on whom City will allow to go on loan and whom City will want to stay with Pep Guardiola and develop. So it's interesting, and we'll keep an eye on this channel on how the development of Cole Palmer goes in the future. And when the news Mendy finds a new club, I mean, whatever is the case, I think that the court has told that Mendy is not guilty, and I think we have to respect the judgment of the court. His two juries separately have told that Mendy is not guilty. So I think at the end, whatever people might say, whatever the social media justice might say, I think you just have to respect the decision of the Justice Department and move on. And I think it will be good for everyone, for Mendy as well, that he focuses on football, because the football player's career is very short. Because by 31, 32, you're done. Some players are done by 24, 25, like in the case of Michael Owen and stuff. So already 2, 3 years of Mendy's career has been ruined with all of this, has been gone. So I just wish him all the best at the start of a new football journey. That's all. And quite a lot of interesting pieces of news today. I mean, it's positive. Whatever is happening for City is actually positive. I mean, just a bit on our rivals as well. Just a bit on how our rivals are strengthening. Before I go, Liverpool are actually, it's interesting that Liverpool are going for a player which, if they get, it could just be a huge revamp to their entire midfield, because Liverpool are going in for Palhinha from Fulham, 27 years of age. He's excellent. We've seen in the World Cup how good Palhinha is. He's at that kind of an age, Palhinha, where he's almost getting into his prime. He reminds me of Michael Carrick in a way, the way Palhinha plays. He dictates the play. He plays the game according to his tempo. He controls the tempo, and in such a hectic midfield of, suppose Salah and McAllister, who are much more attacking, having a calming presence of Palhinha over the inexperienced youth of Romeo Lavia. I think you get Palhinha, and I think you have to leapfrog Liverpool over Arsenal in terms of who will challenge City for the title. Countainia is here. Hey, Countainia, how are you doing? He says, what about the right back issue? Both Cancelo and Walker's futures are uncertain. Actually, Countainia, we spoke about. It's an interesting point you actually brought up. It just completely went out of my mind as well, even when I was writing the notes board for what to discuss today. The Cancelo thing, especially the thing about Cancelo is, if I mean City, all of the City fans are actually unsure about what Cancelo's future holds, because no club has approached Cancelo. Barcelona, there have been rumors about Barcelona approaching Cancelo, but they don't have the financial this thing. Maybe if you go for Raphinha, it could be in part a swap deal, Cancelo, Raphinha. I don't know, but there's a growing feeling around City fans. There's a growing feeling around City club that Cancelo might actually not go. Cancelo might actually return to the club. You never know. You never know, because City want 30 million for Cancelo and no one is ready to pay that. No noise at all. No one. Bayern don't want him. No one wants him, at least for now. There's no noise. PSG, maybe if we take Hakimi from PSG, maybe they might want Cancelo back, but they might want Cancelo, but otherwise there's no noise around Cancelo. There's a sense of growing feeling around the club that Cancelo might actually play a part in the first team. I know that there have been disputes between Pep Guardiola and Cancelo, but you never know, they might be resolved and Cancelo might come back. Now you've raised the point, Count, and I'm thinking, where will Cancelo fit in this system? I'm sorry that Cancelo doesn't fit in this system. The only place where Cancelo fits in is right wing. Oh, I don't know. He doesn't fit in right wing as well, because he loses the ball too often for me. Cancelo just loses the ball too often for me to play in the right wing as a right back. He doesn't fit the system, because one of the primary qualities you want as a defender playing in this new Pep system is, what is the common quality between Walker and Akanji, who play on either side of the flanks at City. All of the three are excellent 1v1 defenders. Cancelo is not a good 1v1 defender. And I can sit here and say countless amount of times when Cancelo's bad 1v1 defending has cost us Champions League ties and has cost us one or two Premier League ties as well. So where does Cancelo fit in? I don't know. Will Pep play Cancelo as a midfielder? Does he fit in as a midfielder? Can Pep translate Cancelo into playing that Gundogan role? I don't know. Can he play as a right winger? Pep tried Cancelo as a right winger against Chelsea, I think at Stamford Bridge. It failed very badly, and then Pep sent him off. So Cancelo's situation is interesting for me. Coutinho says, I don't think he'll stay, because generally Pep doesn't like to have unhappy players in the dressing room. That is true, Coutinho. But who will buy him in this current climate? I do not know who will buy him. He doesn't even have a club, I think, who wants to buy him. I don't know. I'm struggling to see who will actually buy him. We'll keep a track on that issue. I think preseason matches, when preseason. I mean, the thing is, City's players have started training from Monday onwards for preseason. I think that is 2 days back, and the club has not released any photos or videos of players in the preseason training. So it will be interesting once those videos come to look at what Joa Cancel is Cancelo there or not, and uh, everything like that. And the next thing about Walker is gone. Walker is gone. It's not uncertain continue. Walker's future, I think, is 90% is gone to Bayern Munich. The only thing is Benjamin Pavard or Hakimi. Could you actually tell, if I gave you a choice between Pavard and Hakimi, whom would you have to replace Walker? Because for me, it's a close choice. I've been thinking about it since yesterday. Who would be the best fit to replace Walker? Walker, would it be Pavard? Would it be Hakimi? For me, Hakimi is faster than Walker, I think, because I've seen in clips where he has almost raced Mbappe. So Hakimi is faster than Walker. He almost has that kind of a recovery pace. He's an improvement on Walker in terms of possession, the ball carrying ability. He can go into the midfield. He can mar out down the flanks. He can put crosses in. He could play on the right wing as well if you want to play Akanji on right back, and then you could push Hakimi up. His crossing is excellent. His passing, his through balls, his vision, everything in an attacking sense for Hakimi is just out of this world. His defensive ability is something where Pavard trumps over Hakimi. Pavard doesn't have the attacking attributes of Hakimi. He's not as fast as Hakimi. Average pace. His possession, his ball carrying ability is not as good as Hakimi as well. He scores bangers, okay. His crossing ability is nowhere near Hakimi. But defensively, Pavard is a very good 1v1 defender when compared to Ashraf Hakimi. So I mean, the interesting thing here is, I think even before last season, if I would ask you the question, Hakimi or Pavard, you would laugh at me and say it's Hakimi 110%. He's a typical Pep Guardiola fullback. But the thing is, what Pep has done last season, especially the last half of last season, where he has put in your Akanji, Sakis, and he's playing four centre backs at the back, literally. I think Pep, the primary quality Pep is looking at is who is a very good 1v1 defender, and Pavard fits that bill exactly. Now, with the introduction of Haaland and stuff, I don't think Pep wants your fullback to go out, Maraud, and do all of that things. Because Pep knows the attacking threat which Haaland, Grealish, Bernardo, Ford, and the right winger, Danny Olmo, for example, if he comes, they provide is enough. You don't want your fullback to go up and leave those spaces in behind. So I think I'm actually leaning a bit towards Benjamin Pavard. Just seeing who fits the system better, because with Pep Guardiola it's always about who fits the system better than who is the better player or than who is the better attacker. So I mean, than who has the better technical abilities. It's about who fits the system better. So so I mean, that's actually going to be an interesting thing that we'll have to watch out for. Anyway, a couple of interesting pieces of news today. It's looked yesterday and today that City are just moving forward in the transfer window. We are crawling a bit, but we are moving forward because the last 1 or 2 weeks have just been dull for City in the transfer window. There's been no news at all. So this is something very interesting for City, and we'll keep an eye on the developments, because I think before the end of this week, before we play that first preseason match, I'm pretty sure at least one signing will be announced, and we'll get clarity on a lot of issues. I expect us to get a clarity on Walker, Mahrez, futures of Cancelo. I think once we play the preseason game, we'll get more of a clarity on what Pep Guardiola wants to do, especially the first preseason game. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for joining me, and